Guys, look at me. I'm like 90% set up before I hit my live button on YouTube. Well, hey guys, of course it's Theo Kiedis, and here today with some more Mace education. More often than not, I get asked about the 360, how do I do it? It's just kind of like the go-to move. So I want to spend some time. Hey guys, I'm going to take a lot of time. I'm going to try and be real thorough with your Steel Mace 360 education. Alright guys, let's get started. Now the first question I get asked normally is, what about the weight? Guys, many of us out there suggest you start with a 10-pound mace. Now while 10 pounds is not a lot of weight, the further it gets away from you, the more difficult it becomes to control. When you add momentum into that, it becomes even harder to control. Now, I know like in some other countries, they take a lot of pride in how much they can swing. Hey, that's a good thing. Take pride in how much weight you can move around with control. You know, you spend all this time getting in shape, but this is kind of a track that some of us have been on. You get in shape, you learn to move. For instance, the bench press. Well, hey, I got the bench press down, I know how to do it. What do I do next? Well, you add more weight. Okay, I got that down. What do I do next? Add more weight. Okay, well, what do I do next? Rather than going up in weight, let's go up in intent. You guys hang out with me, grab your mace, and let's enjoy this beautiful day together. Now, while it's good to go up in weight, 10 pounds is a lot to control when it's swinging around you. So if you make that online purchase, you go to onnit.com and you get yourself a Steel Mace. Guys, start out with the 10. I myself, I use the 10-pound and 15-pound mace more than any other mace. Alright. Guys, I like to call our upright stance warrior stance. I just call it warrior stance. It makes it easy. If I wanted to get into terminology, I would say vertical, front, bottom grip. Dominant hand on top, which in this case is going to be my right hand. Now guys, what I want to do is I want to create a structure with my body throughout my 360 and try to resist any rotation that I don't choose. So for instance, if I choose to move the mace around me, that's purposeful rotation, I'm going to concentrate on that. All the other moving that my body wants to do, I'm going to try to eliminate. Anti-rotate or counter-rotate. I want to stand still. Does that make sense? Okay, so back up into our warrior stance. Now what I want you guys to do is I want you to get your top finger and point to the side. That's the way we will be swinging. Not to say you can't swing the other way, but we have this fine motor skill in our dominant hand. Think of your penmanship. Think of your ability to control the pen by pushing the index or the pointer and thumb finger forward. You have a very fine motor skill there. This way, on the other hand, we don't. If you push your thumb back towards you, you start to realize how much control you don't have. You'll notice your arm will start bending and doing all these funny things. Anyways, swinging that way, swinging that way. Can I swing both ways? Absolutely. Alright, so very first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to get into a standing structure. The working with the Steel Mace, although we're swinging it in a circle, it is truly about creating straight lines. Well, if I'm swinging in a circle, I can't really create a straight line with my mace, but I can with my body. My standing structure, I keep my feet under my shoulders. Now, I've told people, say, hey, get your feet under your shoulders, and sometimes they do this, sometimes they do this. So quick step, just jump. And if your feet, wherever your feet land, that's the money spot, baby. So I like to think my pinky toes are my guide. So I point those pinky toes straight. Now the legs, I don't want to lock them, I want to bring them forward just a tiny bit. Let's look at that again. Click. Sweet. My hips, now I don't want my tailbone pushed back, I want my tailbone pushed in. Alright. So now I'm creating a straight line with my spine. Straight feet, soft knees, hips forward. The next thing I'm going to work on are my ribs. Now I don't want my ribs to flare up. I want my ribs tucked down and in. Alright, now if I've got my ribs tucked in and my hips pushed forward, I should have a small flex going on in my abs. Perfect, that's what we want. We want to create a structure. Now think about this core being really tight. Matter of fact, let's compress. Now as I move my mace around me, that flex is going to want to give. Your job is to own that straight vertical line through your spine. Alright, so we got the ribs. What do I do with my shoulders? Well, they're going to be rotating, doing all this other stuff. What do I do with my chest? Guys, I don't want a big inflated chest. Remember, we're tucking our ribs in, pushing our hips forward. And guys, we don't want to lean forward, we don't want to hunch back, we just want to stand straight as can be. Now guys, this next part is a little tricky, so do this with me. Get your thumbs, put them on your ribs, cool. Put your fingers on your hips, right on. Hips forward, ribs down. All right, now go ahead and just pinch a little bit, put a little pressure. Now what I want you to do is I want you to get as tall as you can from your neck all the way up. Now normally what happens is when I try and get tall is I break all that structure. I just try and get tall, my ribs flare out, my hips tuck back, so let's try and avoid that. My legs lock out. Let's go over one more time. Feet straight, knees bent just a tiny bit, hips rotated forward, ribs tucked in, nice and tall in your spine. So this is the standing structure I want to create when I swing. Now whether I'm doing a one-handed swing, a two-handed swing, or like an advanced drop-in swing, that's the structure I try to maintain. Okay. Guys, we're just going to make believe that we have our mace with us. Now the idea is to get the mace behind us, but it is natural for us when danger, or when we sense danger, we try to distance ourselves from it. So think of this. We got our mace in front of us, we're not super relaxed, we're going to swing a cannonball around our head. It's very natural for people to push their mace out and even push themselves back away from the mace. Well, we can't do that, guys. Remember, you want your mace close. How close? Everybody's level of comfort is different. I like to be kissing close. I know I've said that before, kissing close, guys. Kissing close. Alright, now my hands, they almost, since I've got those hips forward, can connect, and actually my hand is connected to my midsection. Now all I want you to do is I want you to take your top finger and point, and of course, just to remind yourself which way we're swinging. Now the first thing I do, guys, when I'm teaching somebody how to 360 is to show them the safeties. Safeties are important because sooner or later you're going to fatigue, maybe you're going to get in a little danger, and we want to figure out how to safely get out. Alright, so think about your kettlebell. We rack it on our shoulder, our chest. A kettlebell rack. Now think about your mace. Let's rack our mace on our shoulder. Bring my shoulder forward and just kind of rest it on it. I'm going to do so on both sides. Now guys, when you're swinging a mace, you don't want to run into your shoulder. But, for instance, I go into a swing, my mace starts to get away from me. I can use my shoulder to rack my mace. Plus, there's a bunch of cool advanced swings we can do from that racked position. So just go ahead and find your shoulder. Alright. Now, when you're trying to find your shoulder, don't push that shoulder super far forward. Okay, just minimal. After we found our shoulder, let's go ahead and lift our hands. Up, 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 and above our head. After that, I'm going to tuck my hands all the way to the nape of my neck. Think of where like a cat or a dog picks up their puppy, you know, by that back part of the neck right there. After I've done that, I'm going to rotate. Now, when I do that little bit of rotation, your mace is going to want to move. As that happens, I'm just going to brace it all against my back and pull over. Alright, now guys, if you're first starting out with 360, this is a great way to learn because you learn you can post on your shoulders. So if I get stuck behind me, I won't do some kind of weird move like this that's super uncomfortable on my wrist, my elbow, especially when I have a really tight grip. I'd rather you just use your back as a lever and pull that mace in front of you. Cool. All right, now the idea is not to touch your shoulder and to get the mace behind you. So while that's a good starting point, it is something that we want to get away from. But if you're a little apprehensive about swinging a cannonball around your head, it's a good way to start. Rack it on your shoulder, lift your hands, tuck your hands behind the nape of your neck, rotate, and pull. Okay, now let's start to break it down for you. Let's say you've gone through a couple of those reps and you're feeling good, other than the mace rubbing against your collarbone, your shoulders, all these bones right here. The metal doesn't feel too good on. So let's not touch ourselves with the mace. Now the first move I do, I like to call it blocking. Like somebody's gonna crack me in the head, I block. All right, so here's a thought. When my arm is at this 90-degree angle, I have a lot of power. I continue to have a lot of power when I bring my thumb forward. When I start to bring my pinky up, I start to lose some of my structure and my power. So just keep in mind when you're swinging, let's try and keep 90-degree angled arms. I've seen this a few times. What will happen is we will tilt all the way over here, and while that front pendulum is a good thing, just take a look at my bottom wrist. It starts to bend, 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 thumb back, pinky's going out. And once my wrist locks up, I'm kind of in let's get out of here situation. Meaning, something bad's gonna happen. I don't feel comfortable. I don't have a lot of strength here. Now let's just make a small adjustment. Let's get all that arm in a straight line and get rid of that little pinch in the wrist. Your arm should feel a lot stronger. Now, whether you tilt or you block, it's up to you. Everybody's different. Everybody swings different. This is just how I like to do it. After I blocked, I'm going to dunk, meaning I'm going to drop my mace behind me. As my mace drops behind me, I want to do everything I can to resist this real tall hands way up here swing. Remember, we want our hands down low. All right, real quick, think of doing a sit-up. We don't do our sit-ups like this, we do our sit-ups here. So we have a little bit of muscle memory here. This is not extremely foreign for you. Well, I mean, other than you have a mace in your hands. From this position, I can allow some rotation. From this position, I put pressure in my back. My elbows feel funky. I really don't have a lot of power, so keep those hands low. Now, guys, sometimes it's a mobility issue. Maybe I can't get my hands down that low because I've got big shoulders, big biceps, big fat neck. Maybe I have a really nice collared shirt. I'm just kidding. It's just a joke. All right, here we go. Block. Dunk. Get those hands low. All right, now this area is called the critical zone. Why is it critical? Well, because I gotta get it right. Now remember, if my hands are up here, bad wrists, bad elbows, bad shoulders, hands low, safe, safe, safe. Let's talk about your elbows. Should my elbows be way out, way in, or somewhere in between? Well, somewhere in between is the correct answer. Now remember, since we're dealing with mobility and movement, you should find your range, not my range. If you can't get your hands super low during your first swing, maybe it's something you can build up to. Lock. Dump. All right, now as I'm in this critical position, here's where we have the most problems, or I see the most problems with your swings. We're swinging in a circle, right? We're not swinging in a half circle in a straight line. It seems like people have a really good idea how to start their swing. But right when we get to that critical zone, it tends to be this right elbow pulls forward. I'll give you a couple examples. Swing, chop. Swing, swing, chop. Now, while that might feel like a good swing, especially with like a 10-pound mace and some momentum, once you get up to a 15, 20, 25, 30, 45-pound mace, for me, I started to notice a problem with my bicep tendon. My bicep tendon, my elbow, I was having some grip issues as well. And hey, this is years ago, so I had a lot of time to practice on myself. I found that pulling in a circle, since we're dealing with rotation, we should probably pull in a circle, rather than pulling straight, really helped me grow and allowed me to get into those really high numbers, 2,000 swings, 3,000 swings, and so on. All right. Block. Dump. Hands behind the head. Check out my elbow. I'm going to pull it in. Get it all the way in front of my nose and pull inward. Block. Dump. Inside pull. Block. Dump. Inside pull. Get that elbow in front of you. Cool. So, when we're doing our 360, like we talked about earlier, our body's going to want to move around and do everything you can to resist it. Let's go through a couple swings and let's notice where we might have some rotation I don't want to happen. First one is my feet. As we're being pulled to our left and our right, it's a lot easy, or it would be easier to resist rotation if I just pointed my toes out. That way I can push my toes on the ground to stop myself from rotating. Well, we don't want to do that, right? Because we don't necessarily want to hit the legs. We want to resist rotation with our core. So if we get our feet under us, straight feet, that should help us resist rotation in our midsection, where we want to. Toes out, negative. Toes straight, positive. As I'm doing my swing, guys, what will happen is, especially as I get in that critical zone, I'll probably rock back on my heels a tiny bit and readjust with my toes outside of that straight line I've created. So, before you swing, check your lines. Are my feet straight? Are my knees not locked but forward a little? Are my hips straight? Are my ribs down? Am I as tall as can be? Once I hit that little checklist, I'll swing. Oh man, I got out of whack. Wait a second, let me fix everything. Okay, I'm gonna swing. Oh wait, that didn't work. Let's reset. If I always go back to my warrior stance or my neutral position, I'll start to land in my neutral position. Now guys, this might be a little bit of information. You might know some of this stuff. Stick with me. We're gonna get into some advanced things fairly soon. The biggest point I wanna make here is straight lines with your body, structure with your body, resist the maces, resist the temptation to rotate whenever you're swinging your mace. Secondly, get your pulling elbow in front of your nose and stop chop swinging. Swing, chop, swing, chop, inside pull, inside pull. Remember, keep your mace close. We don't want it far away from us. Okay, just felt funny doing that. All right, let's swing left-handed. Guys, I'm gonna switch to my left hand on top. I'll just give a quick point. Which way am I swinging? That away. All right, lock, dump, hands low, pull. All right, now we didn't really work on breathing because you're probably trying to figure out how to do these moves, and breathing to us is second nature, so we probably held our breath during a few of those moves. Big mistake, y'all. We want to use every little bit of structure we can to help get us buff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little flex in my midsection when the mace gets to critical zone. Now that'll do a couple things. One, if I flex my midsection, it will help protect my back. Well, since this is a core exercise, having that flex and the pull from the mace should amplify that as well. Now, if I exhale and flex, I can really get a lot out of this. Now, the exhale can turn into an audio cue. Right here comes the big truck. So back to the audio cue. Funny. Audio cue, big truck, all right. This is a game of timing, it's a game of rhythm. So what I want you guys to do is exhale when the globe gets behind your butt, and that'll help us to have awareness in timing. All right. So we have an audio cue, we have structure to worry about. That's a lot to practice. But I know you guys have been singing Mace for a while now, so let's advance. Now I get this question a lot, how do I can't do the one-handed swing, it just feels like I'm gonna hurt myself. Well, this goes back to pulling inside. Now what I see a lot is when we get into those one-handed swings, it's the same swing chop. Great start, pull straight. Great start, pull straight. Well, think about this. Your arm's going this way and the mace is going that way. So probably not the best alignment. Let's change that up. Let's get our elbow in front of our nose. Swing, inside pull. Swing, inside pull. What about our other cue? Straight feet, knees push forward just a bit, hips push forward just a bit, ribs tucked down, nice and tall in the spine. Exhale in critical. Try and resist rotation. All right. So how do I get to that one-handed swing? I'm going to show you guys a little trick, something I've helped develop over the last 3 years swinging Mace. All right. All I'm going to do is take my pinky off of my left hand, and I'm going to swing. Now that's not a big deal taking that pinky off. You get the idea? We took the pinky off. Now we have 9 fingers, 8 fingers, 7. All right. Now what I do is I really look to see if my form is on top. Take the pinky off, exhale, inward pull. If I can do that right a few times, I'll go ahead and take another finger off. Now, you don't have to like stick your fingers out. You can just kind of softly put them on your mace to where, you know, they're not really doing anything. After I've done that right a couple times, I'm going to go to the OK grip. All right. Okay. Swing. Now, guys, if I chop swing or I can't get that elbow inward, I might just go back, or I might shake it out, or set it down and come back to it. You know, we do all this work working out to get ourselves in shape, and then we start taking on these new advanced moves. Well, I don't want you to injure yourself, so if you can't get that elbow in front of you, go down and wait, or reset your technique and work on it. After I've got my OK grip, I'm going to switch to my no finger grip. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why don't you just remove that hand? Well, because there's still a little bit of push that I use this hand for. Now, guys, if I can do everything right, getting my elbow in front of me, I can take my hand off. Guys, I recommend sets of 10. It's going to take you 2 or 3 swings to maybe dial it all in, but I want you to get some perfect reps. Now, 10's a great number. It gives us a good point that we can work from right side to left side, from right side to left side, working on keeping our structure true, getting that inside pull, exhaling on the effort. Those are all things we want to concentrate on. All right. Now, I can do that with my right side and my left side. Now, guys, if you're having a hard time, you're like, hey, man, I really want to get this single hand swing down, or my two-handed swing for that matter, but you just don't feel strong enough, you don't feel like you're in control enough maybe, you can always use that middle grip. I recommend starting with your right hand right on the bottom of that grip and your left hand right under. And now why that makes it easier, look how close I am to the ouch part. All right, so once you guys start getting your swing down, Go down a finger length. Go down. Go down. Voila. Alright. So right-handed swings, left-handed swings. Now guys, I call those inside swings because I'm going inward. Outside swing, it's a little difficult, it takes some time to develop, but really, when I'm swinging, for instance, with my left hand on top, my right hand is doing the same exact movement, right? So, if I want to learn how to outside swing with the single hand, let's do the same process, but we will select fingers off of our top hand to take off. So pinky off, ring finger off, okay grip, palm grip, no grip, right off. Now I don't do a lot of outside swings in my workouts, but I do use them for neat things like shoulder racks. So good swing to have. Cool. Now let's get into a two-handed advanced swing that I like to call a negative swing. Let's start right hand on top. We're gonna swing inside, or I'm sorry, outside. I'm gonna stop my mace right about there and bring it back. Now guys, I'm sure there's other names for these moves, so if somebody calls them something else or you've been taught a certain way, just remember this is the way I do what I do. I call it a negative swing because it swings behind you twice, in front of you once. So you get it, negative swing. Guys, this is a good way to train your left hand to pull over. Because really what I'm doing right here is pulling over with my left hand. If you guys are having trouble on your left-handed swing, I would recommend negative swings. Negative swings are a good swing. Alright, so we got negative swings, two-handed swings, we've got single-handed swings, both inside and outside. Now some advanced stuff. I hope you guys are still with me. Alright, a drop-in 360 is really when you're in a position and you drop your mace into a 360. Drop-in 360. Bow and arrow. From this bow and arrow position, I'm going to drop and swing. Guys, these techniques shouldn't be done unless you can master your one-handed swing. I'm sure you guys get that. Now, I'm not really changing anything in my swing. I'm keeping my structure the same. I'm just starting from a different position. Instead of starting from warrior stance, I'm starting from my bow and arrow. Is this a position I am in when I do one-handed swings? Yes. So if I can master that 360, doing drop-ins is not as hard as you would think. All right. Dragon punch press into a 360. Let's get our weighted side right in front of our shoulder. We're gonna have an over-over grip. I'm not going to do anything with my weightless side other than allow my wrist to rotate. From here, I'm gonna drop in, not hitting myself in the head, and really hammer that inside pull. Press, drop, pull. Good stuff, guys. All right, here's a neat combo for you guys. And I will leave you with this and allow you guys to goof around with the mace and have fun with your 360s. Own the shit out of them. Next thing we're going to do is an outside swing into an overhead press into a drop-in 360. Okay, see if we can do this. Outside swing, overhead, drop-in. Outside, overhead, drop-in. Now guys, I didn't just pick up the mace and just say, hey, one day I'm going to do drop-in 360s and all these neat things. Took some time. A lot of ballistic curls, a lot of basics, a lot of 360s, regular traditional 360s. And these exercises help build up strength, so when you get into neat flows, whenever you need to call upon strength to help create a structure to defend yourself from injury, you will be strong enough and durable to do it. Take your time, guys. Take your time. You know, so I asked somebody the other day, I said, man, I took them on as a mace client. Man, I want to learn all the stuff you do. I want to learn it now. I mean, really, they wanted to learn it like this month. And I said, okay, cool. I'm going to learn all the moves in a month. Got you. And I feel you and I respect that. But how long are you going to work out for? A month? And he goes, well, what do you mean? No, I'm going to, you know, this guy's 26. I said, you're going to work out for 2 years? You're going to work out for 1 year? You're going to work out for 6 years? He's like, no, man, I'm going to work out for the rest of my life. You're going to work out for the rest of your life, but you want to master a system in 1 month. That's ambitious. But considering I have this length of time, the rest of my life to work out, and the rest of my life I want to enjoy injury-free, why not take the time to do it right? I've got a lot of clients who are on their 2-year still mace anniversary, and we've got some incredible physiques. And the great thing about these guys is they hammer the basics, hammer the basics, hammer the basics. So now I can throw all kind of shit at them. 360, cell swing, bow and arrow, reverse 10 and 2. And they get it. Why? Because they stuck with the basics. Guys, thank you so much. Really appreciate you guys. You know what? Let me flip my phone around. If you guys have any questions, I'd love to get to answer them. All right. Well, god dang, guys, that was a 30-minute video. Jesus Christ. Man, if any of y'all watched that whole thing for 30 minutes, you got a head full of energy and you need to expand it. So you guys go out there, grab your mace, create something beautiful. Club Kettles, thanks Leo, awesome. See how you put things together. Hey, thank you so much, Clubs and Kettles. I get it. We're gonna have to change your name to Clubs, Kettles, Mace. Thank you guys again. Godspeed, good vibes. Hey, what's up, man? How will we avoid rotation? Okay. How do you avoid meaningless rotation when you free flow? So I was just asked this question. Let me get to it. How? Practice your basics. So here's the great thing, right? I went to the Honored Academy. I did my Still Mace certification, and really what they gave me was a freedom. You know, they taught me how to create strength with the Still Mace, how to do it safely. They gave me all these landmarks. So think of it like you're building a table, right? Where do you put the legs? On the corners of the table, that way it'll stand up. Why don't you put them in the center? Well, because it'll break. Well, okay, but it might look cool. Yeah, but it's gonna break. Learning how to go from landmark to landmark to landmark is what I do. That's how I go, that's what I do in my flows. Now the landmarks, you know, that's something we will get into in the future. They have names. They are super important, but we'll give you one right now, okay? We'll give you one landmark, or just a thought. So I grab my mace, right, and I do my uppercut with it. And I think you guys kind of know the uppercut, all right? We hold the mace down on our side. We bring it up into this nice position. Now we call this position bayonet top side. Bayonet top side. Now let's just look at a couple key things. None of my wrists are bent. My elbow is supporting my wrist on both sides. So I know if I get into like a crazy swing and I land in that position,
I know I can avoid any meaningless rotation. Good question. Hey, thanks for asking that. Guys, we could get into another 30-minute video on that. Guys, I will save you the rest of your day. Godspeed, good vibes. Guys, I got some workshops coming up. Looks like next month we got 3 workshops going out. I'm going to do 2 here locally in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and 1 up in New York City. All right, y'all. Godspeed, good vibes.